Right, last one. I hope you've been putting it with my monotone. Sitting here just looking at slides. Oh, anyway, we get the material. Right, the last slide. Music. Again, part of the Ars Moderna, or Ars Nova. Music. Yeah, so doing a little bit of literature without examples. I'm doing an emergency lecture here, so I haven't given you examples of the literature. We'll try and work on that later. But the art, the literature. So music. Again, developing. What we're getting here is a transition from monophony, which is basically one melody, right, to polyphony, where you might have two or more melodies going in parallel. So, the rhythm going on here, and then there's this layer of this melody doing that, and then a third layer where there's another melody doing something else. Polyphony, quite complex it can be, especially if you're doing multiple voices. Take a choir and break it into bits, and each one's doing a different, if you like, melody, and gets quite complex. That's happening now in this high Central Middle Ages. Then, once you've got the polyphony, then you can get polytextual. Then you can be singing each group, if you like, and can be singing actually a different line. Not just a round where you just, go Michael row the boat, and then you say Michael row the boat at a different point, but it's actually saying different things, different text that somehow interact and don't get disconnected. So you could have your instruments playing a couple of different melodies in polyphony, and on top of that you could have your voices doing parallel but different texts. It's a wonderful sophistication. What makes it possible, my technology handout, remember I mentioned musical notes. Without musical notes, you're doing everything by memory. You can't get that complex. But with musical notes, you can start to lay it right on the notation, the different layers of the different melodies, the different parts, and you can write in the different texts, the lyrics. And so someone else can take that and go, oh, here's how I do this. And they can replicate the complexity halfway across Europe just by looking at the written notes. So sophisticated record keeping, sophisticated music, beautiful stuff. I'll play something. It's more of a, not polytextual necessarily, but it gives you a little idea of polyphony. Who's doing this? Again, you can have your troubadours, your jongleurs, or minnesingers. They're not just doing poetry or telling stories, but they can be singing songs too. On the professional side, minstrels, of course. Courts, even towns might have their professional minstrels for official occasions. So drums, stringed instruments, wind instruments, things like that they're playing. I'll try clicking on this link and we'll see if we can hear a little bit of a song. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Still trying to work on bringing it up. I'm going to have to cycle down. And I'm going to click on the link. I'm not going to click on the link. There we go. Here we go. Click. Connecting. This could work. This is something is coming in, or something is coming in. It's more of a round, polytextual, but not different text.
Vögel sing Kuckuck, sing Kuckuck, Schwälberg sing es Kuckuck, es riecht nach Kuckuck, sing Kuckuck. Sommer sie kommen in, Sommer sie kommen in, Traube singt und blowet mit den Skålen, sing und gode Kuckuck, sing und gode Kuckuck, sing und gode Kuckuck, Sonne skalte Kuckuck, det skulle sing Kuckuck, det sorgen sing Kuckuck, Schwälberg sing es Kuckuck, vi slöt på samma Kuckuck.
So there was that example. Again, no instruments, but multiple voices. Throw in instruments, and you got some really complex stuff. That's sort of, if you like, the lay side of the 12th century Renaissance. Because of the wealth, you were able to afford these tremendous works of architecture, parish churches, cathedrals, castles, and decorate them with everything from sculptures to tapestries to murals. We're getting new stories being told that throw back to some of the old poetry and romances, but with these emphasis on the chivalry and the courtly love, with all the multiple influences. Music developing forward, like I said, and to repeat what I said earlier, this is all unique. It's influenced by the classical civilization. It's influenced by Arab, Persian civilization. It has its German roots. It has its Christian influence, and it's all stirred up to make a unique civilization with its own music, its own art, its own sculptures, its own buildings. And these booming, thriving cities who are pushing this commercial revolution on all sorts of new technologies, which I'll keep referring to. Yeah, am I being too positive? Am I overselling it a little bit? I mean, after all, 80 to 90% of the people are still peasants, ploughing in the mud. But this is a civilization that is growing in wealth and in cultural output. And I say this because we are not used to thinking about that, about the Middle Ages. This is pretty dynamic. And that dynamic background, I said, we'll talk more about how they try to improve their knowledge of the world next in the universities. But that's a snippet. This is an emergency, after 2.5 weeks of snow days, emergency lecture just to get you somewhat caught up. We can talk more about this when we get back, as I miss tons out, but hopefully at least we've got a touch of it. Right, I guess I'll be seeing everybody after spring break. Have a good break.